What if the story we've been told about energy isn't the whole story? We grew up believing that power must be generated by burning something: coal, oil, gas, or capturing the wind and sun. We are taught that energy is scarce, expensive, and finite. But what if, nearly 100 years ago, an inventor claimed to have found a way to power the world for free, and then was deliberately silenced? This isn't just a movie plot. This isn't science fiction. In 1928, an inventor said he'd figured out how to tap the Earth's magnetic field for limitless power. It was an invention that could have ended our reliance on fossil fuels before the industry even fully took hold. But then, almost as quickly as it appeared, he and his device practically vanished. This is the story of a supposed 100-year-old secret to limitless power, and the powerful forces that may have buried it to protect their bottom line. To understand how this happened, we have to go back. We have to understand the era that birthed this idea. The Roaring '20s. It was a time of incredible innovation. Cars were replacing horses, radio was connecting the world, and aviation was conquering the skies. It really felt like anything was possible. The laws of physics seemed to be bending every day. And right in the middle of it all, a self-taught inventor from Pennsylvania named Lester Hendershot came forward with a claim so huge it threatened to rewrite the rules of energy entirely. Hendershot said he'd built a fuel-less generator. According to him, it was a device that made electricity with no obvious power source. No batteries, no coal, no fuel tank. He claimed his machine worked by tapping into the Earth's magnetic field. Now, to mainstream science, this sounds impossible. But Hendershot's theory was simple. Just as a normal generator makes power by moving a magnet inside a coil, he believed he could do the same thing by letting the Earth's own rotation do all the work for him. He believed the Earth itself was the generator, and he had simply built the plug. It's a concept that mainstream physics doesn't support. In the textbooks, you can't get something for nothing. But his demonstrations were compelling, and they drew crowds. His device didn't look high-tech. It looked like something cobbled together from old radios and telephones. It was a strange collection of distinctive basket weave coils, capacitors, and a few magnets. But when he turned it on, everything changed. To get it going, Hendershot would carefully tune the components, adjusting the distance between the coils until a distinct buzz signaled that energy was flowing. That buzz was the sound of the impossible happening. Eyewitness accounts from the time described the Hendershot generator powering a 120-volt light bulb and a radio at the same time. This wasn't a faint spark. This was usable. Household electricity. His son later recalled seeing it run a sewing machine and even their television set for hours on end. This wasn't just some guy tinkering in his garage with a parlor trick. Hendershot got serious attention from serious people. The military took notice. Major Thomas Lanphier, a commander at Selfridge Field, was reportedly stunned after seeing the generator run a small motor. In fact, the demonstration was so powerful that the motor reportedly burned out from the sheer surge of energy the device produced. But the biggest validation came from the sky. The story reached Charles Lindbergh. At the time, Lindbergh was the most famous man on Earth, a hero of aviation who understood engines better than almost anyone. Lindbergh saw the potential immediately. Aviation was limited by fuel weight. If a plane could fly on magnetic power, it could fly forever. According to reports from the time, Lindbergh witnessed the machine work. He saw the potential for a constant power source in aviation and attested to the generator's validity. Think about the weight of that endorsement. This wasn't a tabloid rumor. It was the most respected aviator in history saying this is real. For a moment, it seemed like the world was on the brink of a new era. It seemed like Lester Hendershot was about to change the world with limitless clean power. He had the machine. He had the proof. He had the attention of the world's heroes. But he also had a target on his back. Because when you claim to have an invention that could make the global energy market obsolete, you don't just get fans. You also get the attention of people who have a lot to lose. History has shown us that whenever a disruption of this magnitude appears, the established powers don't just stand by and watch their empires crumble, they react. The legend around Hendershot says that as his fame grew, so did the shadows around him. It started politely enough. According to anecdotal accounts passed down through the decades, the pressure didn't begin with a threat. It began with a handshake and a checkbook. The story goes that a major corporation rumors have long pointed to an industry giant like Westinghouse approached Hendershot with a business proposal. They invited him to a meeting. Suits, cigars, and a very clear offer. They offered him $25,000. Now, you have to understand the context. In 1928, $25,000 wasn't just pocket change. Adjusted for inflation, that is nearly $500,000 today. And they sweetened the pot with the promise of a lucrative salary for 20 years. It was the American dream served up on a silver platter. It was security for his family for the rest of their lives. But there was a catch. There is always a catch. To get the money, he would have to sell them the patents. He would have to hand over total control of the technology. And then he would have to walk away. He would have to stop building. He would have to stop talking to the press. The implication was clear. They weren't buying the device to mass produce it. They were buying it to bury it. Hendershot stood at a crossroads. He could take the money and live a life of comfort, or he could hold on to his dream of free energy for the world. He refused. He believed his invention belonged to everyone, not just inside one company's vault. And this refusal, the legend claims, is when the polite masks came off. This is when things got ugly. The narrative shifts here from a business drama to a thriller. Shortly after rejecting the offer, Hendershot reported that his sanctuary, his laboratory, was targeted. He claimed it was ransacked. This wasn't a random burglary. He described it as the work of professionals who knew exactly what they were looking for. They didn't take the expensive tools or the copper wire. They took his crucial notes. They stole the schematics. They stripped him of the blueprints to his own mind. Following the raid, he said he received explicit warnings to drop his work for his own safety. Now, it is important to state that these claims of theft and intimidation are not supported by independent police records found today. They remain part of the lore surrounding his story. But whether the threats were official or not, the effect on Hendershot was undeniable. Imagine the pressure. One minute you're being called a genius by heroes like Lindbergh. The next, you're afraid for your family. You look over your shoulder when you walk down the street. Your life's work is gone, stolen in the night, and the very system that should be championing you seems to be trying to crush you. Hendershot, once an open and excited inventor happy to demonstrate his machine to the press, changed. He became withdrawn. He became secretive, haunted by what he'd found and the powerful people he believed he'd angered. After the blaze of publicity and the alleged intimidation, Lester Hendershot faded from public view. He didn't stop, though. For decades, he worked in private, chasing an idea the world wasn't ready for. But something had broken, either in him or in the machine. The generator itself remained a puzzle. Hendershot could sometimes make it work, but it was famously inconsistent. Associates like Ed Skilling, who worked with Hendershot later in life, noted that the machine seemed to rely on Hendershot's own intuition. He would tune the basket weave coils by hand and ear, finding a resonance that no mathematical formula could predict. Without his specific touch, nobody else could seem to reliably replicate it. It was as if the secret was slowly dying with him. Then, in 1961, Hendershot's story came to a tragic and unsettling end. He was found dead. The official ruling was suicide. Case closed. But for those who knew his story, and for those who knew the powerful enemies he believed he had, the official explanation never felt right. His family and supporters have long suspected foul play. They questioned why a man who had spent over 30 years fighting for a world-changing invention, and who, according to some reports, was preparing to speak to scientists again, would just give up. Was he silenced? It's a dark theory. There is no public law enforcement evidence to support it, leaving it firmly in the realm of conspiracy. But the timing, the context, leaves a cold feeling in the chest. With his death, the complete secret of the Hendershot generator was effectively lost. His full theory was never understood by mainstream science. The intuition, the specific tuning, the ghost in the machine, it all died with Lester. Without him, the device was just a pile of wires and magnets. The promise of limitless power was gone, and a 100-year-old secret was buried. But is Hendershot's story a one-off? Is he just a solitary, tragic figure in the footnotes of history? Or is his life part of a bigger, more disturbing pattern? It turns out, the story of Lester Hendershot isn't entirely unique. When you look into the history of technology, you find a graveyard. It is a graveyard of brilliant people who dreamed of free or nearly free energy, only to end up discredited, destitute, or destroyed. Let's start with the titan of electricity himself, Nikola Tesla. Everyone knows Tesla was a genius. He is the father of our modern AC electrical system, the very current running through your walls right now. But his biggest dream was even grander than that. At his Wardenclyffe facility, Tesla wasn't just working on wireless communication. He was trying to build a system for the wireless transmission of power across the globe. He wanted to electrify the Earth itself. A popular legend says that when his financier, the powerful banker J.P. Morgan, realized the full scope of this, he asked a simple, chilling question. If anyone can pull power from the air, where do we put the meter? There's no proof Morgan ever said those exact words, but the quote perfectly captures the conflict. The historical reality is just as cold. Morgan had invested $150,000 for Tesla to build a radio system. When Tesla's vision grew into something far more ambitious, something that could have democratized energy for everyone, he asked for more money. Morgan refused. With a shaky stock market and competitors like Marconi making progress, it was arguably a sound business decision. But the result was catastrophic for humanity. He effectively ended Tesla's dream. Tesla had to watch as the amazing Wardenclyffe Tower was torn down for scrap. The inventor who lit up the world died broke and alone in a hotel room. Decades later, another inventor, Stanley Meyer, made a similarly revolutionary claim. In the 80s and 90s, Meyer said he had built a car that could run on water. He claimed his process used way less energy than mainstream science thought possible. to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. If true, a car could drive across the country on just a few gallons of tap water. But again, the system pushed back. After Meyer sold dealerships for his technology, he was sued by his investors. In 1996, an Ohio court found him guilty of gross and egregious fraud. Expert witnesses who examined his water fuel cell in court dismissed it. They said it was nothing revolutionary and was just performing conventional electrolysis. And then the story takes an even darker turn. In March 1998, Meyer was at a restaurant with two Belgian investors. According to his brother, who was sitting right there, Meyer took a sip of his cranberry juice. Suddenly, he grabbed his neck. He ran outside, gasping for air. His final words, yelled to his brother before he collapsed and died, were, "They poisoned me." The official coroner's report found that Meyer, who had high blood pressure, died of a natural cerebral aneurysm. No evidence of poison was ever found. But just like with Hendershot, two stories remain: an official cause of death and a chilling conspiracy theory that a man threatening the oil industry was assassinated. So why does this keep happening? Why do these stories of brilliant inventors with world-changing energy ideas so often end in failure, ridicule, and even tragedy? The simplest answer is usually the right one. Follow the money. Our entire world runs on a centralized energy model. Giant companies pull fuel out of the ground, burn it, and send the electricity to your home with a bill attached. It's a system worth trillions. Now, imagine a little box in your home that gives you all the power you need for free. It's not just an innovation, it's an extinction-level event for the energy industry. This motive alone is powerful, but there might also be an official tool that is used for suppression. The Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. This U.S. law lets government agencies place secrecy orders on new patent applications if they think public disclosure could be detrimental to the national security. This means an invention from a private citizen can be classified and locked away from the public. The stated purpose is to keep dangerous military tech out of the wrong hands. But the phrase national security is incredibly vague. Could a technology that threatens the global economy be seen as a national security risk? We don't really know, because the list of inventions under secrecy orders is, itself, secret. But we do know this. According to statistics reported by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, as of the end of fiscal year 25, there were 6,543 secrecy orders in effect. That is, 6,543 inventions hidden from you and me. How many are weapons? And how many might be something else entirely? We're not allowed to know. So, we're left with a century of whispers and unsettling questions. The tale of Lester Hendershot's generator, the collapse of Tesla's wireless power dream, and the fraud verdict and mysterious death of Stanley Meyer. When you look at them together, they form a pattern. A pattern of stories about revolutionary energy ideas that were neutralized, one way or another. They hint at a quiet war fought in the shadows for over a century. A war between radical new ideas and centralized control, between a future of abundance and a present built on scarcity. But here is the most disturbing question of all. If they suppressed the technology, did they also suppress the source of the technology? The minds of men like Tesla and Hendershot operated on a different frequency. Literally, they accessed a state of flow and intuition that most of us have lost. It turns out, this genius state is biological. It's a specific brainwave frequency that has been systematically dulled by modern life and education. But there is a way to turn it back on. A leaked presentation has surfaced that explains exactly how to reconnect with this dormant power. It connects the dots between the suppression of energy and the suppression of human potential. It reveals a 7-second ritual to reactivate that same genius wave inside you. However, a warning. Because this information directly challenges the established order, this presentation has faced censorship attempts before. We do not know how long it will remain online. The truth is out there, but you have to be ready to see it. Click the link in the pinned comment to watch the video they don't want you to see before it's taken down. We may never get all the answers to the mysteries of the past, but it's our job to keep asking the questions. Like this video, share it, and subscribe for more dives into the stories they might not want you to know.